Hey, what's up guys? Mopar driver here. I want to show you guys something. This corner is all that remains of the old Chrysler plant. And it still holds the cornerstone that was laid in 1907. The cornerstone was laid in 1907, and Charles W. Fairbanks, who was from Indiana and was Vice President of the United States at the time, came to Newcastle for the dedication when they laid the cornerstone. Production started on August 13th of 1907, before the roof was even completely finished. In 1916, the Newcastle plant became the largest automotive forge plant in the United States. The plant was demolished in November of 2004. Every time I drive down 18th Street, I miss seeing the old factory standing there. Part of the old factory occupied this entire empty lot. The building you see in the background was part of the old plant. It is now Crown. They make forklifts. Another section of the mammoth-sized factory stood in this lot. This is another section of the old plant located on South 18th Street. It all used to be painted Chrysler blue. And this was the shipping and receiving gate. As a little kid and a teenager growing up in Newcastle, I remember hearing the large steam hammers pounding steel. You could hear it from anywhere in town. In 1916, the forge and hammer shop was built to house large steam-powered hammers, and Newcastle became the largest automotive forge plant in the country. Maxwell flourished until 1920, when a crashing economy ran into increased production, which resulted in 26,000 unsold 1920 Maxwell cars out of 34,169 produced. The company asked retired turnaround artist Walter P. Chrysler to save the company. Chrysler not only saved the company, but gained full control of it. And on June 25, 1925, the Newcastle plant became one of the original 6 plants of the new Chrysler Corporation. By 1934, there was a record-setting 6,700 employees working at the Newcastle plant. In the 1950s, Newcastle produced over 150 separate parts for all Chrysler Corporation cars and trucks. There wasn't a single Chrysler car or truck built without parts from the Newcastle plant. Among the parts produced, there were Oriflow shocks, steering gear assemblies, tie rods, truck axles, transmission parts, and connecting rods. Maxwell Briscoe, formed by auto engineer John D. Maxwell and stamping tycoon Benjamin Briscoe, quickly had a very successful business. In the first half of their first year, 1905, they had sold 542 cars that were produced at their first auto plant in Tarrytown, New York. They leased a second factory in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and a year later opened a third in Chicago. Maxwell automobile production began under the Maxwell Briscoe Company of North Tarrytown, New York. The company was named after founder John D. Maxwell, who had previously worked for Oldsmobile, and his business partner Benjamin Briscoe, an automobile industry pioneer and part owner of the Briscoe Brothers Metal Works. In 1907, following a fire that destroyed the North Tarrytown factory, Maxwell Briscoe opened a mammoth automobile factory at 1817 I Avenue in Newcastle, Indiana. This factory continued as a Chrysler plant following its takeover of Maxwell until its demolition in 2004. In 1910, the Briscoe brothers, after seeing the success of the new General Motors Company, created the United States Motor Company. It brought in not only Maxwell Briscoe, but independents Brush, Dayton Motor Car Company, Courier Car Company, Columbia Motor Car, and Alden Sampson. Newcastle continued to build popular four-cylinder Maxwell cars until 1911. United States Motor Company from 1910 to 1912 was dropping some of its less profitable cars and trucks, including Alden Sampson. Car production was moved to underused plants, and Newcastle was converted to parts production. Maxwell eventually overextended itself and wound up deeply in debt, with over half of its production unsold in the post-World War I recession in 1920. The following year, Walter P. Chrysler arranged to take a controlling interest in Maxwell Motors, reincorporating it in West Virginia with himself as chairman. One of his first tasks was to correct the faults in the Maxwell cars, whose quality had declined. This improved version of the car was marketed as the Good Maxwell. Around the time of Chrysler's takeover, Maxwell was also in the process of merging with the ailing Chalmers Automobile Company. And finally, in 1923, Chalmers ceased production. In 1925, Chrysler formed his own company, the Chrysler Corporation. That same year, the Maxwell line was phased out, and the Maxwell Company assets were absorbed by Chrysler. The Maxwell automobile would continue to live on in another form, however, because the new four-cylinder Chrysler model that was introduced for the 1926 model year was created largely from the design of the previous year's Maxwell. And this former Maxwell would undergo another transformation in 1928, when a second reworking and renaming would bring about the creation of the first Plymouth, the Plymouth Model Q, listed at $675. Newcastle has kept changing as the Chrysler Corporation has changed, but the plant has continued forward. In 1987, the plant became a part of Accustar, Chrysler's new parts division, but it returned to Chrysler in 1989. The plant remained within the Chrysler fold until 2002, when it became part of a joint venture with Metaldyne as part of Daimler Chrysler sell-off plant. Only 220 workers stayed after the sale. 300 retired and 700 moved, many going 70 miles to the Chrysler transmission plant in Kokomo, Indiana. The Maxwell Briscoe building, opened in 1907, was demolished in 2004. The Metaldyne plant remained active until 2009, when Metaldyne shut it down. In January 2010, the Diakonoff Group signed a letter of intent to build wind turbines in the former Metaldyne plant, but these plans fell through. What is amazing in all of this is that the original 1907 factory still stood into the 21st century and was used for nearly a century, and it remained in almost original condition until its demolition in 2004.